It's not showing up. Might just be me. Oh, oh, yep, that looks like me. I got it. Okay, so I shared that on the Facebook page. I'll try to keep an eye on for any comments coming in. We have passed out a few agendas on the tables here. Just go through some welcome and introductions and run through some of the things that we'll discuss this evening. My name's Crystal Simmons. I'm the Executive Director of the Redevelopment Authority for the City of Uniontown. Back in January, the Redevelopment Authority worked with the city to work through an update to the landlord registration ordinance that would be a benefit to landlords and also assist the Redevelopment Authority with administering the program. So that's what we'll be discussing this evening. I'm just going to kind of run through some things and present the changes and some history of the ordinance. In November of 2020, an ordinance was passed, and for the past 3 years, there has been a rental registration ordinance. It was structured a little differently. It was $20 per parcel each year, and it was simply that. You received a license, you were eligible to have a rental, and there was kind of limited enforcement due to some capacity. So fast forward to now, what we've done is reviewed the program to provide some resources and some benefits to landlords in addition to the ability to have a rental. So the biggest change is the fact that this will be an online registration, or one of the biggest change. So you will be able to register your rentals online, and some of the other perks is on your second page there. Just run through the perks of having a registered rental. So landlord events, will be holding quarterly landlord events and one larger annual event for landlords to attend. At these events, we will invite fair housing specialists and other guest speakers to review different laws and changes that are happening, support networking of the landlords, and even at the annual event, come out and have a nice annual appreciation for our landlords. Being as close to 70% of the city of Uniontown are rental, we want to provide support for our landlords. Some of that support will be in the form of online e-resources, which would be a toolbox on a website, which you could then access different template leases, template eviction notices, information, resources about the city, really just unlimited resources. And also at the landlord events, there would be an attorney on site that could answer some lower level questions regarding maybe some current issues you're working through. Not full-blown legal advice, but someone on staff to assist. On that online resources, there'd be a listserv. So if you are a landlord and you register, you would be entered into a listserv where you can send an email out and all the landlords can receive it, and you can also receive other landlords. Maybe you have an issue with your meter and you wanted to see if anybody else was having that same issue. Do you have an issue with West Penn? And it's a resource for landlords to respond and really become a network. Pennsylvania is really a tenant-friendly state, and we want to provide a network and strength to our landlords, and we hope that that can do that. We would provide a 30-yard dumpster that is available at the compost area, the sewage area here in town. You could flash your license and you could bring your garbage and things there, and it would be available. What we're envisioning, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and if all goes well, we hope that we could have this dumpster available by early spring and February, March. Part of this registration will now have safety and habitability exterior reviews. Now, I say will now, but it always did before. Code enforcement reviews all rentals and reviews all structures. This particular habitability exterior review would be just a one-page sheet exterior review based on the International Property Maintenance Code. And if there were issues that would arise, that would be submitted to the landlord, and they would have 30 days to make the repairs or either a timeline for reasonable correction to the issues that were identified. The actual rental license and fee associated with this is broken out into a few different steps. And this is one thing that we modified. In March, we accepted input and we made a few changes that was hopefully accommodating. Originally, the fee was going to be a $75 flat fee for all units. We wanted to make sure those landlords that had mini rental units, with the cost that they endure already and the maintenance that they are responsible for, that if there was more, that there would be a little bit of a cost saving. So we changed the cost down to $55 a unit, and that's for 10 or fewer units. If you have between 11 and 20 units, you would pay $35 a unit. Between 21 and 30, $25 a unit, and 21 or more, $15 a unit. There's no inspection fees in this program. While our region does charge inspection fees, we're very comparable and actually better than some of our surrounding areas in terms of costs and annual fees. And we don't want to pass too many fees on to the renters. However, if you have one unit, if you add $5 to your rent, you could absorb those costs. Now, the landlord may choose not to do that, and $5 is $5. However, that price just drops as you have more rental units. And so you have a monthly option and you have a annual option. A change we made is an online vacancy registration. So now there'll be an online site. If your unit goes vacant, you go straight to that site, you enter the vacancy, that information is shared with the redevelopment authority. We prorate your license expenses and we provide it to the sewage office, and the sewage office will handle your turnoffs and what the sewage office does for you in terms of vacancy. And then ultimately, all this boils down to a risk assessment for landlords. This risk assessment won't mean a lot right now, but this is a longer-term goal of what we're working towards. So we have 3 levels of risk: low risk, medium risk, and high risk. If you're a low risk landlord, that means that you carry a current license, you've satisfied the safety review, and you've attended at least 2 landlord events and are registered for the listserv. You're medium risk if you have your current license, you pass the habitability review, attended at least 1 event, and are registered for a listserv. And that could mean if you don't pass it the first time, you'd pass it the second time. That's medium risk. High risk landlords do not carry a license. They have not passed a safety and habitability review, and they've participated in no events or part of the listserv. And the reason that you want to work towards being a low-risk landlord is to take advantage of our long-term goal of low to no interest financing. We would like to submit an application, and we're preparing to do that as we collect data and information from landlords for a low-interest loan program that landlords can apply for. There would be some requirements with those funding Maybe you would need to rent your rental unit out to low to moderate income persons. However, the entire city is low to moderate income except one block group, so the odds are probably likely that you would be able to rent that unit to HUD 80% threshold rental. So those are some of the resources and perks that we see happening. And in your packets also is the actual ordinance. You can see that this is track changes. So the red and green areas are changes that we made to an already existing ordinance. This ordinance is up for review this Thursday. Some of the things that we've changed is really just the order of some of them, but we did include that the owner or manager will coordinate with the city code official for the exterior review. So after we start this program, we're going to stagger the review, and we will have the code enforcement officer going out and doing these exterior reviews of the structure. So you might not be in the first quarter, but we will review as the quarter goes. You won't be restricted from getting your license. You will still be able to get your rental license, but you just might not be in that first quarter, but you will need to coordinate it with the code officer. One other change is this license is good January through December. It's no longer when you pay for it. Your license will always be January through December. That really helps with the administration of the program. And we added the vacancy. If it's vacant, you can register that following the process that we're going to set in place. Other than that, that is a quick overview of the program, and I will just either, if you have comments or questions about what we discussed so far, please take a step up here to this mic so they can hear you online, and we can answer any questions that you have. Yes, please. Questions that you have.
So hi, I'm Kelly Wilhelm. So I just want to confirm that it is an exterior review, because when I look at the language in the code, there's a section where it talks about it being an inspection in section 3C, and then below it, it refers to an exterior review versus an inspection. And I wondered why there were two different, terms for. I assume it's the same review, that it is an exterior review.
It is the same, but for consistency, we certainly could change that to exterior reviews. But it is the same, where before they were referring to it as an inspection.
Okay. So it is, just to confirm, it is entirely exterior.
Yes, complete
Okay.
exterior review.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Let me just see if there's any comments online. If you do have any questions, come on down. The price is right.
You're still going to require everybody to have a license?
Yes, the one other big change, there'll be full enforcement. So if a landlord were not to purchase their license, which I'm glad you asked that because we also have a perk here. If you have not purchased your license, there's a three strikes where you would first get a fine, and then you'd get your second notice as a fine, and then there's a third notice, and that would then move on to the magistrate, and it would be handled like any other citation process. Now, there are landlords who have for the past 3 years faithfully paid this program and are very careful and abide by all the rules. Those folks that have done that, when this program kicks off, they will have be waived the full 2024 license fee. If they did not carry a license before, the landlords will pay October, November, and December of this year. The others would be waived that fee based on their previous license that was purchased.
Okay, very well. I wasn't sure when you talked about the low, medium, and high risk, you mentioned that the high was only for those who don't carry a license, which I wanted to make sure that it was a mandatory participation. Everybody would have to participate.
Yes, it's just by chance, we'd put them in the category of low risk. They, at that point, probably would be seeing the magistrate. They, per the ordinance, would need to go through the process of no longer having tenants, and they would not be eligible for any financing that we may get in the future until they were able to get
Very good.
in compliance. Let's see if we have any on here.
You mentioned that there was a one-page standard review that would be released through review. Should we have access to that prior to the review so we understand what it is they'll be looking at?
Yes, and while you might not know exactly what this looks like, but it will be the regular IPMC exterior review checklist, and you will be provided it. It will be online for you to download. And really, once you register for the program, you can go online at any time and print your license, print your status, print your history, and we are going to encourage you to enter your renter's information. It is not going to be a requirement. There are some folks that's not quite wanting to do that, but we encourage you to. And if your renters change throughout the year, we would encourage you to change those, but at least once a year, we'd want the renter's information to be entered. Nothing more than just a name and what unit they live in for safety purposes, benefit purposes, where we would want to provide specific services in that area, because ultimately the renter is the beneficiary in a community project that we would complete. So it's really helpful and beneficial to renters to be included in that. But yeah, to answer your question, it would be available.
Thank you.
So the plan is that this would be reviewed on Thursday. The ordinance would be in effect 10 days following, so September 16th, we're hoping to put this in place. The mid-September, we expect the letters to be mailed out, and we would start that online registration process. And in your invoices that you'll receive, you'll have the opportunity to pay early. If you pay your fee before the end of December, you're going to receive a slight reduction. But you will have till the end of January 31st to pay. Depending on who decides to pay early and what the collections of the program looks like, we hope to have the dumpster available this March to kind of help that spring clean out of tenants. Hi.
I have a question, and I apologize, because I'm late coming in, you might have already went over this and all that, I apologize. But, where does a house fall into play on this? I mean, technically, you're renting it, but you're assisting a church or some nonprofit organization, and you're actually donating that house, so you're not collecting any rent. Is that still included in a part of this?
I think that we would want to look at the details of the ordinance.
I mean, I'm really fine with it either way. I don't have an objection to it either way. I'm just asking so I know what to do.
Understood. And we would want to look at how it's actually outlined in the ordinance, but I do believe if we look at the ordinance closely, it would address that, and we could respond to you.
If it's one of one of our corporations that we rent through in Uniontown is Serenity Rentals, and that's a nonprofit organization that actually supplies some free housing to people in certain recovery programs.
I made a note of that, and we should review that, because there's other housing that might be in that category as well. If you are a Section 8 landlord, we will not do an exterior inspection. We will ask for the HUD inspection to be provided to us, which is much more in-depth than the standard exterior inspection. And we're also looking at the other Section 8 housing and specific senior housing and things, of how they would qualify and how they will be addressed in the ordinance. I don't see any online comments. We do have our chairman here, Chairman Matt George, if you'd want to say anything. Okay. And Mayor, is there anything that you'd like to address?
I do have a question, Crystal. Fayette County housing, would they fall into that category as a landlord?
That is one of the housing that we have on the list to discuss. I'm in conversation with Tim Witt of exactly what we're legally able to do with how HUD-funded housing. So I feel that it's a city's decision if they do want to require them to pay the fee. I feel that they are a landlord and then they have a rental, but there may be rules under the federal funding where they don't pay any type of registration or ordinance. So that would need to be ironed out by the attorney.
Very good, thank you.
So at a later date, the council could have the option to make up their minds if they want to charge the housing authority?
Well, when the ordinance passes, it should support charging the housing authority, assuming the federal, so we wouldn't need to make any further changes. They would just be then charged. Okay, well, if there's no other questions, you can reach me at 724-438-7968, or you can review all the information on the landlord ordinance at www.uniontownredevelopment.com/landlord, or I'm sorry, /rental registration. That has all the information, and that's where we'll keep updated. Right, thank you, everyone.